What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I want to talk about a specific card that was kind of revealed in like a cluster of cards with like the final, 10 or whatever cards revealed for Burst of Destiny. This card was kind of thrown into that cluster randomly. But I actually think it is like kind of an unsung card. So we're going to talk about it here and how it could actually end up being like a legit meta relevant card at some point, because it searches like very generically a lot of different cards in the game and things to come. Like we could easily just get more support down the line, and not even for this, but just like any card that fits the bill for this to search like could become huge. So without further ado, let's just start off by going over this card itself. This is Cupid Pitch, very cute looking artwork. This goes with like, I guess the whole theme that the mini like archetype they had going on with like a bunch of these like little Cupid monsters. None of them really do too much, but this one actually does have some nice effects. So this is a Fairy Synchro Tuner effect monster. It's level 4, so it's actually pretty low for a Synchro. 0 attack, 600 defense, and it's completely generic. It takes any tuner and any non-tuners. This is what it reads. If this card is synchro summoned, increase or reduce its level by the level of the tuner used as material for its summon. Gain attack equal to its level times 400, so it's just a continuous effect. And if this synchro summoned card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the level of the synchro monster that used this card as material times 100. Then, if you do, and if you do, you can add 1 level 8 or lower monster with 600 defense from your deck to your hand. Okay, so there's a lot of cool things going on here. First and foremost, adjusts her level on summon, whether you want to raise it or lower it by the level of the tuner summoned. It just gives you more options on what you're going to be able to do. Keep in mind that is mandatory though, so you can't choose to keep her at level 4. You have to adjust her, either increasing or decreasing. Keep that in mind. She buffs her stats, so I guess if she is made with like a tuner level 3, which could easily happen, I mean, she could easily end up as a 2800 beater as a level 4, which is pretty crazy. That's not that good though. But the big effect, obviously, is if it's used as a synchro material, you can burn your opponent for whatever damage. It'll probably be 600, 700, 800, somewhere in there. And if you do, you can add any level 8 or lower monster with 600 defense from your deck to the hand. So any monster in the entire game with 600 exactly defense becomes searchable. You'll be like, John, that's so specific. Yeah, but we have 10,000 monsters or whatever, 10,000 cards in the game. There's bound to be some good ones. And so I've already gone through, done some research, skimmed through what I thought were like the better options that have 600 defense exactly. And we're going to be going through those here. So do I have these already? I do. All right, cool. So the first kind of like batch I want to start off with are monsters that are pretty much normal summons. And the reason I want to start with those is because they probably have the least application here, because that assumes you'd be able to make her and synchro her off into another monster without using your normal summon. I don't see that happening in too many strategies, but I guess it could be possible. So I guess it's worth noting here. There. So Black Metal Dragon is one of them. We know this has been 1 card dragon combo for a long time. So obviously being able to search this out, and then if you hadn't normaled, extend into it, very, very crazy. Obviously very good. So that's definitely something. Carboneton, this had been part of dragon combo decks in the past as well, but kind of same thing. Just gets you a +1. Gale Dogger, we've seen Gale Dogger be insane in the past as well. It's a +2, but you got to pay a lot of life points, but searchable now through this card. Very cool. Still takes the normal though. Genix Undyne, same thing. When it's a normal summon, send a water to add a Genix controller. Basic water combo stuff, but pretty powerful. And Tour Guide. Tour Guide's the last. Oh, I guess there's one technically more, but last one's a little less well known to Yu-Gi-Oh. But Tour Guide, obviously we know what this can represent. Full combo for other certain decks as well. And then you have Yoku Tuner. This is another interesting one. It does require your normal summon, but when he's normal summoned, you can special summon any tuner from hand or grave, but its effects are negated. So that's very, very funny. I love that it can just revive Cupid. But again, you would have had to get through Cupid, and not only get to Cupid, but get to Cupid and another monster, so you could synchro again just to make without your normal summon, just to make like this any kind of worth. But still some cool cards to make note of that are searchable off of her effect. Maybe their follow-up if you already are going full combo or whatever in the build it's being played in. I don't know. but it is still worth noting these couple cards. Next up, we have some in-archetype cards that are interesting to note. First off is like the entire Punk archetype. They have like 4 small level 3 psychic monsters. All 4 of them have exactly 600 defense. Unfortunately, none of them are extenders like that. They do require normal summon, so they kind of fit in with the other archetype, but that's not the worst thing in the world. That could potentially be something like maybe there's a Halki Fibrax play that wants us to go through the Cupid girl, and then that gets us up into, you know, another search for these. And if we had normal summon when we got to Halk, then that could be a thing as well. I don't know, just something to keep in mind. Virtual World, specifically Lily and Lulu, both have exactly 600 defense. Who would have thought? I mean, Lily is not the most important one, but still a solid card in the archetype. Lulu, though, is like straight up the best monster in the main deck, so that's actually really cool. And the deck's synchro anyway. The only thing that's awkward is Virtual World specialize in specific level and rank monsters. It specializes in rank 6s, Synchro 6s, and Synchro 9s. Those are the specialty of the archetype. And you could almost throw rank 6s as well. Synchro level 4 is not the bread and butter of the deck. Now, that doesn't mean you can't play something fairly generic, you know, a level 1 that you could combine with just a level 3 tuner just to get into Cupid Serve. Synchro those off for plus a 6 for like a level 10, maybe the new Baroness, maybe that's part of a combo. And then from there, you get another search for Lulu if you hadn't used her that turn, or Lily if you hadn't used it that turn, to extend even further. I don't know how practical it is, but I do think it's worth noting since this right now is considered one of the top 3 decks in the metagame, and this card has synergy searching 2 of the better cards in its deck. I don't know, and it's synchro based anyway, so the level's a little wonky, but depending on what other generic cards you might try and fit into the deck, it could actually be something cool. So figure that was worth noting. Next up here, we have the new Agent monster. He's exactly 600 defense. He pretty much pitches himself to hand to reborn an Agent monster in Grave. Then if he's banished, he can I think it's activate or search Sanctuary in the Sky. So nice extender for them, just easy pitching to get a revive. If you were able to, I know that it looks like the Agent stuff already wants to go through Halki Fibrax lines. If this card becomes part of the Halki Fibrax lines that this deck's using, then maybe this card just becomes searchable. Although the problem is, I think most times when you're getting to Halk, you're already using this guy. So maybe you search him as follow-up, like as you're synchroing up anyway, and that's what the situation is, like that ends up being like what's going on there. But still interesting and worth noting, I would say, right? Still nice follow-up for the next turn to just reestablish a board if you are broken. Pretty cool. Speedroid Terratop. This one's another interesting one because whereas the other normal summon reliant monsters need a normal summon, this card can be a normal summon, by the way. It just gets you a free +1 and you know, get some searches. You could also do something like make Cupid, synchro Cupid up into something like Psy-Frame Lord Omega, use Omega to rip a card, then you normal Terratop and use Terratop, or special Terratop, sorry. And go off, right, and search your Speedroid stuff. I don't know if there's like a specific combo there, or if this would just get you like one more interruption. I don't know off the top of my head, but I figure this is worth noting. You know, another way to search Terratop. Very, very cool. Next up is Rose Girl. This is another one. This one almost could be slightly generic, but not really, I guess. It's just plant locked, in the sense that this card summons itself from hand when a plant monster is just sent to graveyard. So you could synchro Cupid up to some plant synchro, and then synchro that off, and boom, Rose Girl can trigger. It sounds like a pretty specific combo. I don't know for sure exactly what would go on there, but this is just a free, you know, level 3 tuner that's going to jump out of the hand, so that works. Defrag Dragon. Send another monster from hand to the graveyard to summon it, and if you control 3 monsters with the same exact name, you can banish them to special it from grave. So decent extender. It's just another body, another thing to consider. Dinotherium, another cool one. This just jumps out of the hand for free. The only thing you need to be cognizant of is this card says when it does summon itself this way, your opponent can summon a level 4 monster from either player's grave, and even if you're going first, Cupid herself is a level 4, so you would automatically be giving them like a Cupid of their own. But I guess that's, you know, not the worst thing, though. It's just one material. And if that gets you to your full combo, I guess it could be worth, but definitely something to keep in mind. Nemesis Corridor. This card targets a banished monster, summons itself, and then shuffles the banished monster back into the deck. So if you were doing a combo that lets anything get banished, this card immediately becomes like interesting. If you're going through Hawk lines anyway, maybe you're using what's the Plague Spreader, right? Doesn't Plague Spreader banish itself when it hits the grave a second time? This card can just reload or shuffle Plague Spreader back just to get itself out, and then it can also once per turn just add any banished Nemesis monster. That shouldn't come up ideally unless this is in like an actual Nemesis deck, which I don't think they like to synchro, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, it's a nice little level 4 extender, 1900 body, and Thunder Dragons it was theorized because it can get you to Colossus, which is pretty cool. But obviously Colossus is banned. But another interesting extender for sure. And the last one here, I think, for the generic stuff is just Psychic Tracker. Again, if you just control any level 3, you can just summon this from the hand for free. So depending on how the combo goes, if at some point you're just going to put a level 3 on board, this just jumps out of the hand super, super easy and lets you extend. Very nice. And then we get to probably the last card, and honestly maybe generically the most interesting card here, Hop Ear Squadron. If you don't know about this card, he essentially from the hand allows you during your opponent's main phase to target a face-up monster you control, special summon this card from hand, and then immediately do a synchro summon. Very, very cool. And so you could search this as part of your combo, pass on something like the Baroness, right? The Fleur Baroness that we're going to get at the beginning of next year, so we do have a ways to wait for it, but when it does come out, right, that's a level 10 synchro. It's just an Omni Negate. But once you use Omni Negate, you can then use Hop Ear Squadron on your opponent's main phase to then summon itself and synchro those two into a 12. There's not a ton of great 12s, but there is, I believe his name is Mathmech Final Sigma. He's like the 3000 attack point Mathmech monster that's just up towers. He's just straight towers, unaffected by all card effects. And so after an Omni Negate, you know, once you negate something that you think would be a possible line that gets your opponent to an out of something like a Sigma, you just then synchro into Sigma and say, out me now. And if they can't, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that could be something interesting, especially if you were able to end Baroness with any other like disruption, because then you're also going to get Sigma with still having like another card on field, like Savage, Baroness, or something like that. I don't know what the combo would be, but that could be something really, really interesting. And then I kind of played myself. I looked at Nibiru and I was like, Nibiru 600 defense. This card only searches level 8 or lower, so unfortunately you cannot search Nibiru, although that would be kind of crazy if you just made like a really floaty board, and then just also search Nibiru as backup. That would be really, really funny. But that doesn't really work because it's level 11, I think. So not there. But Hop Ear Squadron I think is super interesting. A bunch of these other generic extenders are also interesting. And even some of the archetypal stuff. I mean, we'll see. I honestly think the most applicable one might be Agents. It really might be. Just because they want to do the Halki-Fibrax line. And just doing Halki-Fibrax goes like Halk into the Despot, right? Despot and Halk into Auroradon, that immediately gives you 3 level 3s and Despot comes back. So now you can just make a 4 there, right? Make her, she'll up her level by, I guess, just raise her level or lower her level by 1. She probably just wants to do 1. Then you can go into a Savage right there with her and 1 more token to then, oh, but then, no, we probably want to do Auroradon next to tribute to get, whatever, the Colt Wing, and then that'll give you 2 more tokens, and then from there you go her and a token into Savage, or actually you get Despot back. Oh my god, I shouldn't even be doing this right now. I should be doing this in the lab, but I just want to get through it. So you'll have Savage, you will have searched this guy if you did not use him to get to Halk in the first place, or it's just follow up for the next turn, which is still really solid. I love combo decks that don't have to be the crazy highest ceiling in the world, but if they're going to do a decently good board and follow-up, that's even more scary to me than just like an insane board, because they still get cracked by stuff. And then Savage, and then you'd still have, what, Deskbot, a token, and Colt Wing are still in the field with Auroradon, so you'd still be able to do like something else, but you'd already have Savage, you'd already have the follow-up, and you'd have at least another 8 if you want it. And maybe something more. Doesn't, well, maybe Colt Wing raises level. Maybe you can make a 10 there. Yeah, actually, oh no. it's awkward. I don't know. I don't know the full levels. Like, I'll have to talk with Charles and stuff. He knows the stuff way better than me. But yeah, a lot of these cards are super interesting. I'm really curious about where this card could be utilized, because I really think it's just one of those cards that's going to go under the radar, and then randomly some guy's going to be like, yeah, this card's busted. I mean, you just do the same combo, but now you're just ending with like a really strong follow-up card in hand. But it's the same combo. Play one slot in the extra deck, end up with a nice like follow-up or an extender that makes your board even better. I don't know. It seems decent though. Let me know your thoughts down below. I know this video probably went longer than I wanted it to, but I had like legit 20 cards I want to talk about here. So let me know your thoughts on this new card and where you think it could potentially be utilized the most in. That's another thing I'm very curious about, because I just have like, I don't know, Hulk decks just come to mind, obviously, because they do make fours pretty easily, but who knows? Right. So let me know there. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Subscribe if you have not yet. You want to see more discussion videos, stuff like this on new cards in the future. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.